What's going on YouTube? This is SG1 and we've got a brand new video series we're going to try out here this week. We have our 5 takeaways after each week, and now we're going to give you our 5 expectations for the week. And this idea, this video topic was actually a suggestion from a viewer, and I apologize, I do not remember who made that comment. Couldn't find it. If you comment on this video, let me know. I can give you some credit. But this was suggested to me, and I thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea. Let's try it out. Just kind of a way to preview the week and again give expectations for what I'm expecting to see this weekend without making predictions on specific games. And we'll revisit this again if this is successful and you guys like this. We'll do this every week and we'll kind of look back at my expectations from the previous week, see if it turned out to be true or if I was wrong. So yeah, let's just jump right in. Again, my 5 expectations for week 3. We're going to start with the top 10. I believe that at least one top 10 team will lose here in week 3. There are several options to pick from. Potentially even 2 top 10 teams could go down, but I'm going to say at least one. I think you've got, Oregon, they play Northwestern, talked about that on the upset alert video. It would surprise me at this point if Oregon lost that game, but there are some things to watch out for there. Georgia is on the road at Tennessee. That's a tough place to play. Georgia, do they have a passing offense? We'll see about that one. I left that off of the upset alert video because I thought the point spread was too low, but I think technically I could have had it on there because as of this recording, it's 3.5. But like I said in that video, I do not like to do the 3.5. I like to go 4 points or more. Anyways, back to the games. You've got Miami playing South Florida. That one could be interesting. You've got Florida playing LSU. That one could be an interesting matchup as well. Texas A&M, Notre Dame, I think this is probably the most likely because I did pick Texas A&M in the preseason. Although I think Notre Dame, I was impressed with Notre Dame in the season opener. They were actually, at least with CJ Carr quarterback, I thought they were in pretty good shape there. So again, you're talking about several games to choose from. None of these would be, most of these would not be huge upsets. We're talking like 3 to 7 point spreads in these games, kind of in that range for the most part. Obviously, if you're going by point spread, Georgia Tennessee would be the most likely because that one's only 3.5. But like I said, I think Texas A&M Notre Dame might be the most likely upset for a top 10 team. So I think at least one top 10 team will lose. Let's go to my number 2 expectation. Notre Dame Texas A&M will be the game of the week, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the most exciting, the most dramatic game that has the craziest finish or anything like that. I do think though, of all these big games, this will be a game that comes down to the wire. This will be a very tight game. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched. Again, it's a game I could really see going either way, but I think especially when you talk about the big games for the weekend, this is going to be the best of those big games. I think Georgia, Tennessee, maybe. I'm struggling with that one. I feel like Georgia is going to go in there and take care of business with their defense, but maybe Tennessee takes that one down to the wire or something like that. Oregon, Northwest. We talk about these other top 10 games. I don't really see most of those coming down to the wire, but I believe this one will, and I think this game will mean a lot. I think the loser of this game could potentially be out of the college football playoff. And I'll go ahead and say I believe the winner of this game will be in the college football playoff. I mean, they are almost a lock. If Texas A&M is able to win this game, I believe with their schedule, they can get to 10-2. Not quite as confident with them. But then when we talk about Notre Dame is like a lock to get in. I believe if they win this game, they're not going to lose more than one other game. So yeah, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, this one I believe will be the biggest game, the best game of week 3. My next expectation, number 3, one of these teams will pull off an SEC road upset. I believe one of these teams will go on the road and pull off the upset. That could be Arkansas traveling to Ole Miss, could be Vanderbilt going to play South Carolina, or maybe even Florida going to play LSU. Now, I think that the Florida one is the most unlikely. I mean, Death Valley, it's very tough to win there. LSU looked really good in week 1. So I think it's going to be tough for Florida, just being honest here. But it could happen. You never know. That's somewhat of a rivalry. But I really think between Arkansas and Vanderbilt, one of those two teams is going to pull off the upset. I really believe that. So we'll revisit this next week, like I said, and we'll see if it turned out to be true. But I think Arkansas has a great shot. I think Vanderbilt has a great shot. I don't think both of them will pull off the upset, but I do think one of them will. And again, maybe it's Florida. But I think one of these teams goes on the road and they get a big upset win in the SEC. And we'll stick with the SEC for this number 4 expectation. I believe Alabama will look like Alabama this weekend. I think they will bounce back. They kind of already bounced back last week. That was not against a good opponent. I don't think they've done enough to really feel good about themselves after the Florida State performance, so I still think they're going to have something to prove. Now, long term, I don't know that Alabama is going to be a national championship contender, might not even make the playoff, but I think for this week against this opponent, Wisconsin does have a good defense, so that is an area where maybe if they take advantage of that, maybe this game stays kind of close. But I think the athletes that Alabama has, I think their offense will be clicking. I don't think Wisconsin will do much of anything. I wouldn't be surprised if they get shut out in this game. I don't think their offense is going to be able to score more than maybe 10 points. So I think Alabama will roll here. Everyone's going to jump back on the bandwagon before the Georgia game. They'll probably get ranked, who knows, maybe back in the top 10, and that's going to be a huge showdown coming up. But long term, I think Alabama still has some issues. But for this week, at this point in the season, I think they're going to be really motivated. I think they're going to bounce back. And it's going to be really warm. This is an early kick. Wisconsin coming in there. How will they handle the heat and all that? So, yeah, I think Alabama wears them down, and they wind up looking like that Alabama team that we expected, at least for this week. And, again, maybe that's not the case moving forward, but I do think we'll see that here in week 3. And then finally, my number 5 takeaway, Clemson will make a statement one way or another. So what I mean by that is I believe when I look at this game with Clemson and Georgia Tech, I think Clemson is going to go out there and they're going to look like a top 10 team. They're going to look like a playoff team. They're going to win by double digits against a very good Georgia Tech team. And they're going to be really motivated. The defense is going to be flying around. Offense is going to make some explosive plays, and they win this game easily. Or the other statement that they might make is it's over for Clemson. This is just Clemson is not going to get back to what they used to be. They're going to lose this game. They're going to not make the college football playoff. And the season's going to really unravel. I think one of I know those are kind of two extreme things, but yeah, I think that Clemson, they win this game convincingly, and I don't mean by 30, but by at least a couple touchdowns, or they lose this game. And again, it all falls apart for Clemson. They pretty much drop out of the playoff race already. Technically not, of course, they can still win the ACC. But I think it's going to go one way or another. This is the turning point for Clemson's season. They did not look great last week, but again, I have a feeling they bounce back. They play really well. They maybe built some momentum in the second half of that game against Troy, or these issues continue, and it's a rough week for Clemson fans. So I could see it going one way or another. Would love to get your expectations for week 3. Do you agree with my takes? Which ones do you think do you expect, or maybe you disagree with some of them? That's fine. Let me know which ones you disagree with. I always like to hear everyone else's opinion. And again, these are just my opinions. I could be wrong. So we'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be a really fun weekend. A lot of big games. Can't wait to see what happens. But again, these are my 5 expectations for week 3.